Hi, Save Our Sites members, followers, and supporters. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are here today to kind of give homage to the Clinical Trials Day and definitely focus in on some positivity and changes that are happening in the industry. There's a lot going on, and I feel that it's really important that we shift the focus into things that are bringing about change and all sorts of innovation to the industry. And so switching it over to Dr. Fox, and we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. May 20th is National Clinical Trials Day. And honestly, it's been a rough week for clinical trials. There's been a lot of things going on LinkedIn. We've been talking about a lot of things, but I think it's a really good time, especially around National Clinical Trials Day, maybe to shift some focus toward positivity. Let's just face it, there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing. And I know for a fact that the reason why we still keep doing what we're doing is we do have those success stories, the positive stories where you come in one day and you're expecting the grind, and then all of a sudden something happens and it reminds you, you know what? This is why I do what I do. I'm so glad that this happened. It just kind of re-energizes you. And I thought, why not have everyone come together and share their stories about successes? So, who wants to start? Do you have a success story from clinical research that you're like, wow, yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm glad I do what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly imagine we all do. I posted today about, we've enrolled 800 patients in it's a blood draw study. It's for cancer screening. But, the real part that's, I take some pride in, I guess, is that, these are taking place in largely, rural areas. And all of this is through, partnership with a health system here in Oklahoma, which is already not exactly the clinical trial bastion, of the world by any stretch. We're not far from North Carolina. So just to be able to pull that off, and again, not that it's the biggest thing in the world, but I think it's just an example of what can be accomplished by people in their communities partnering with the right, other people in their communities. I mean, I feel like these opportunities exist all over the place, and we don't have to immediately try to scale to a crazy national level. I think we can really start locally and get a lot accomplished. And I feel like there's all of you guys are in the same position, and we're even our group is just a small microcosm of what's going on in other spots around the country. We all know 20 other people that are doing things not dissimilar from what we are. So I'm encouraged every day, by these stories and the people we all know and talk to, and even as we talk amongst ourselves. So I think the future is incredibly bright, and we should all be looking forward to more progress.
I love that story, Brad. And just like what you said, oftentimes, especially in the rural Midwest, we're almost considered like a flyover state. The infrastructure is not there. It doesn't happen. You guys don't have a chance to be so competitive in the industry. And then all of a sudden, those Midwestern community members come together. And before you know it, oh my gosh, it's just being together, like having research as the one thing that we can all focus on is a really important part of what we do. I think it's literally like a community glue sometimes, where everyone, the one thing we all have in common is health and disease. And if we all come together to fix that, to volunteer, to do it selflessly, I think it's very, very helpful. What
Great.
about you, Monica?
Well, for me, I was thinking what you guys were talking about, the success stories. And one success story or something that has always stick to my heart and keeps motivating me is seeing patients progress and seeing patients getting good results for their condition or hearing, for example, I specialize in mental health. I've been working with mental health since the beginning of my career in research. And seeing, for example, a patient with a specific condition, with a mental health condition, saying, for the first time in my life, I feel
Yep.
normal. Thank you for doing this. That that just there make me feel that my job has a meaning, and thinking how many people are going to be positively impacted by this is what motivates me every single day. And especially, for example, in patients with mental health that have never experienced a normal day, or I mean, what we call normal day, right? Or a normal life, hearing them saying, "Thank you for doing this for me," that just it makes sense. It makes me feel that I want to do more. And That's that on that part, right? And then on the educational part, hearing my students saying thank you. Now I have a career. Thank you. Now I am part of something bigger than I ever thought. Thank you for making happen my breakthrough in the industry, and um, giving my family an opportunity to have like a financial stability that we didn't have before. And not just that, but giving me the joy to work in an industry that has so much impact out there. So what we do in reality is something that is obviously improving the quality of life, and that has a huge impact.
Mhm.
Agree.
Exactly. Yep. And so it's not just with the patients then, right, Monica? It's also on a professional level. And then when we train people to do research, imagine how many patients we're helping.
Mhm.
Exactly.
It's so
Exactly.
exponential on the positivity level.
And when we train them well, and also hold their hands, because like we always say to the students, our relationship starts the day that you call us and decide to join the academy. And then from there on, we have students that contact us 2 3 years later to tell us what happened, or look, I'm thinking I'm doing this move in my career, what do you think? So
Yeah.
that's for me what gives me a lot of passion in educating and helping in every single way we can.
Mhm. I think with my experience, it's for the site level, it's quite a few years back, so it's kind of an older story, but I want to focus more on the more recent. As we are here partnered with LICR and SOS, we were at SCRS conference, Diversity and ACRP this year, and we had so many Latinos come up to our booth and say thank you so much for having a presence, speaking for us, having a voice, but also for making the content free. We've had so many patients that we've been able to direct to your website. They ask questions, and then even them as site owners, as professionals, as individuals trying to also help in their community, right, are able to actually have resources and or know or find connections of people that we've connected with, right? Like growing their network and being able to help them reach out and help others as well. It's a spider web, or how you see domino effect of help, right? So coming together and actually, not just, as Brad had recently mentioned, not just here trying to, you know, make a space for us and financially gain, but here actually keeping the focus on what it really is all about, which is the patients, the community, the network to help each other and help the community industry grow in the right direction, right? To where it's not just all about benefit and profit, but it's about actually making it about the patients, the healthcare, and ensuring that they have somebody or someone that they can always reference to guide them, right? Whatever that might look like, So clinical trials means a lot to me. Clinical Trials Day means a lot to me. And, just hope that people continue to kind of spread and share that light and that information with each other. And know that here at SOS and at LICR, that's what we want to be for you.
So what about you, Judy?
Wow. Yeah. So, sorry for joining late, but I mean, it means a lot to me. I also work in a small rural community, large Hispanic community, and we've been there for 16 years. And there's a lot of things we're trying to do now that we've been working on in the past. But one of the things is community collaboration, right? How can we work with other organizations to share information about clinical research so we can get more participants in our community to be in clinical research trials as another option. So that's something, that's a process, as you know, when you work with community organizations. whether they're private or nonprofit, to set something in place. But one of the organizations that has always been pretty open is actually the county mental health office in Imperial County.
Yep.
They don't work on clinical research studies. They don't have the staff, but they've always been very open and interested to see how they can do more with us. And so I'm very thankful for that relationship, and that more we're going to continue to do with them. And that an MOU that we're going to put in place, but we've had MOAs in place in the past with them. And we want to model that with other organizations in the community. And so we're always open to collaborating. I think the fact that we can do that, we're in the community and we have the staff that can keep doing, sharing this information in the community. It's a lot of work, believe me, a lot of effort, a lot of behind the scenes time that goes into it. But it's extremely important to me that the community that we're in has this opportunity. So if it takes what we're doing to get this out there, to get more people into clinical research, whether it's in the workforce or as a participant, we're going to continue to do it, because we need more medications that are going to help with the symptoms, especially because we work in mental health too, that work better, that work faster. And there's even some conditions that we don't even have medications approved for: Alzheimer's disease, Alzheimer's with agitation. And so those are specific areas that we do have a lot of patients in my community that struggle with that. So being able to be part of that, to hopefully see these medications in the future get FDA approved, being able to come back those medications to our community so the providers can have them, have another option to give to their patients, is extremely important to me. And I hope I get to see that with a lot of conditions that we work on. Aside from that, we're a border town, and we are actually in the process of developing, thankful to the various staff I have on staff that are working on this, to bring an academic program to our community research center, which means we're going to bring international. Right now, we're starting with international physicians from Mexico to come into research and work at our facility as interns or possible future clinical research staff that we're going to bring on. And we're actually going to collaborate with a university in Mexicali who has signed on, agreed to work with us, and then hopefully open that more to other positions, opportunities with other schools in the county, maybe in Mexico too, for other roles. So that's something hopefully I can provide more feedback on in the future to see how that works. But it's just being able to do that. I mean, it's like a whole nother thing we're bringing right to clinical research. And so if I can share that with that community, with all of you, and that's something that others can benefit and possibly can implement at their site, I think that's something I would love to do once I have more information to share. And just things like that. I think we've all, we have different backgrounds and experiences, but that we can collaborate, reach out to each other and ask questions. I don't know everything. I'm still learning every day. We're always adapting, modifying, doing things that are best for our site, that improve what we're trying to do. And I do reach out to a lot of you guys, actually, other colleagues in the industry, to, find out what's the best way of doing things. How should I do it? What can I implement that makes us more efficient? That we're successful in what we're doing when it comes to recruiting and everything else. And I've also been very thankful to collaborate with a lot of other people in the industry, specifically with some CROs or specific representatives, CROs, sponsors who have reached out to me individually to ask for my guidance, my feedback, especially with my experience working with Latinos. And I will continue to do that. Same with connecting with other people who are trying to do more in the industry, whether as a site owner or getting into a position. I've always said this, if there's anything I can help other people with, reach out to me. I would love to help anybody and anyone to get into this industry. And I've done that. I've done that on a personal level with multiple people, not just in my community, but throughout other areas that have reached out to me personally. And so just being able to do that and to see these people actually go through and get a position and do something after I met them years prior to that. It's amazing to see, and I'm very thankful to be part of this community.
So the one example that I could say about Judy and what she just said there is Judy is a very amazing example about how integral research can be as a component to our community, not just local, but also global. We are a very giving global community. And I think that when we all have research in common, we tend to be very collaborative. We just want to help the patient. We want to empower physicians. We want to do some very, very good things. Bravo, Judy, for really stepping up and being that community leader that we all need in research, especially down in Sun Valley.
Thank you.
So, Chris, you looks like you're living in a hovel over there.
Yeah, are you in the Shire? I think Chris is in the Shire.
In the Shire, that's
I
where I
love
prefer to
it,
be.
love it.
Yeah. Are you a hobbit? You got a hobbit thing going on there? How many times do you eat every day, Chris? Do you have like
17
second
times.
breakfast?
17
times. So Chris, do you have any research success stories? Like what
Well,
comes to mind?
So really what impresses me about research is the opportunities provided. So there are just so many stories of people starting out as recruiters or very limited, exactly, Monica, very limited, I don't know, presence in research. And really there's unlimited opportunity for advancement. So many industries lack opportunity for advancement. This is not one of those industries, and it's really impressive in my book. And if medicine or anything in that, helping people, if that is something that calls on your nature as an individual, the sky's the limit in terms of advancement opportunities in this industry. And that's really what impresses me most. I mean, everybody has a great story, and helping people is awesome, and seeing benefits to individuals, great. But again, what impresses me the most is the opportunity.
So I agree, Chris. It's almost like some people call it a career ladder in almost every profession. I think in research it's more of like a career rock wall.
Yeah.
So you can climb in so many different directions, and depending on which rock you grab and which direction you go, it could take you in a totally different place that's just as satisfying.
Yep.
There's
absolutely.
no like unilateral ladder that you climb. You can go this way and that way and take your choices. Then you fall and you can try another path and all of those different directions. I have 3, and I don't want to like hog the mic, so I want to go really quick. The first one I remember was taking care of, it was a cancer patient, and we had a trial that it's essentially what the oncologist said was literally melting away the tumor. And it was about six months into the cancer treatment, and this person was terminal. And the lab results came back, and he was just mortified about the results. And when they came in and they said complete remission, it literally melted the tumor away. This person just sobbed. I mean, like super duper manly guy, right? He yelled out happy profanities. Oh my gosh, so happy. Hugged his wife. Tears were rolling. The coordinator was crying. There was so much emotion in the room. But it's times like that where it's like we gave hope to someone who didn't have hope. They just, there was nothing. And then all of a sudden, because of research, because of the innovation, because of providing that opportunity into the community, this person had a chance. And that was really impactful for me. There was another situation where this individual was in a trial, and the trial was for derm. And we got the individual in the trial, and this individual had other health problems that weren't necessarily exclusions, but they were definitely health problems. But because this person was in the trial, this person gained access to the other interventions that were required for the other health problems that they had. So about 6 months in, this person literally came to us and said, "You have completely changed my life." Not necessarily because of the drug on the trial, but because the opportunity that you gave me allowed me to really get my life in order. I've got all of these other health conditions. They're under control now. I wouldn't even have known about them. I wouldn't have been motivated to address them if it weren't for this trial. So again, it's because we have this different standard where we will do whatever it takes to help our patients. And our coordinators, I know for a fact that they did things that we didn't get paid for, but it took care of the patient. we made those extra steps, we made those extra visits, we made those extra calls to make sure that that patient had what they needed. And then the last one I had was just, it's so inspirational, but it was a trial. It was like a sample collection trial. And because of the inclusion exclusion, the parents and the children had the opportunity to be part of the trial. So it was literally an opportunity, like research was like a family day. The entire family came in, participated in a trial, almost like it's like changing the culture where our children will know that it's okay to be part of research, that it's not foreign, that it's not, that we're not guinea pigs. And the culture of helping these patients from one generation to the next and showing them that it's okay and it's not scary and it's not a mystery and we know what we're doing and there are safeties in place and they do have rights. It was just very inspirational to see what we can do with research, not only for our patients, but also with patients as cohorts and families and groups like that. It's a family affair. So I think in those three instances, one is where we provided hope, two is where we empower patients to be their best, and three is where it is a joyful culture to be part of research. And I guarantee you that the clinical site is the number one reason why all of those things happen. The feet on the ground, people facing the patients, the ones that do whatever it takes to help our patients. That is what, those are the three like patient facing success stories that I can think of. There's always the other success stories about when it works right. What happens? I mean, I don't know if you've ever actually had IWRS, ERT, and finance all work in sync the way it's supposed to, but it happens. It does happen. The
No, it
intentions
doesn't.
are
You're making
there.
that up.
Mhm.
It's a blue moon. It's a blue moon, but when you have the right sponsor, the right business people, it does happen. It really does, and so it's possible. The intentions are there. Unfortunately, that's kind of a rarity.
Yeah,
So
I've been experiencing that for the first time with one sponsor that I keep on talking, but yeah,
so
I really
have you
enjoy
ever?
being working with them.
Yeah, have you ever been through a business experience in research where you think to yourself, so this is how it's supposed to work?
Exactly.
This is what's supposed to happen every time. Even, it's like 1 in a million that it happens. But so, and then you think to yourself, well, it can happen. We have the potential and it's going to happen right there. So what do you, so by this time next year, let's say Clinical Trials Day 2024, by this time next year, what do you hope we can talk about? What are our inspirations to try to do over the years so that we can celebrate a better Clinical Trials Day next year?
Well, for me, definitely talking about the success of SOS and how we found the solution for something.
Mhm.
At least one thing that would be amazing.
Some kind of a
Because
baby
yeah.
step.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm. I
Some
mean,
kind of a baby
it
step.
would be that, but also at least being able to actively engage CRO sponsors and side conversations effectively, and being able to kind of figure out where the misconnect is and whether it's either side, right? And just definitely trying to help that bring more clarity to that area, because I do think that on both ends there's some sort of disconnect happening. I think that right there, even though it'd be just a small step, I think that can really go seriously far, in a short period once it's, initiated. So,
Mhm.
hopeful that we can create that platform for the industry.
What about
Yeah,
you, Brad?
I mean, I think I agree. I think these are very attainable goals. I think for me, just knowing that there's like a forum or a platform, whatever the case is, where you can go talk to other people who have the same experience but different perspective, or same perspective, different experience, whatever the case may be. Talk it through, get real practical advice and information and exchange of ideas. I mean, I think there's right now it's like an interesting time where I feel like there's like this fake divisiveness like going on, and like as though, you know, there's traditional sites and then there's DCT and they're against each other. And I'm like, well, that's, I mean, that's not really true. I mean, I think it's fair to be critical and have these conversations in an open forum. I think we should. So I hope we can continue to also bridge that gap and also recognize that like site isn't always going to mean the same thing to everybody, right? Like I think even the word site is maybe alive, you know, in a way, and will continue to change over time, and you know, should be inclusive of those other ideas. So I just hope we continue to sort of build on that. And it's not we all know it's not like us versus them. I mean, it is. We joke and we, you know, like to poke fun at ourselves and others, but I think ultimately it's all in the spirit of collaboration.
If anything, it's just maybe
I agree.
that one little moment where you just want to draw attention to something, and a lot of times people react to either humor or some other form of emotion. So if we can at least grab their attention, then we can all get together and try to figure out how to fix things.
Well, I think we have to be honest with each other. Like, there are bad ideas. Not every idea is a good idea, and that's okay.
Yes.
That's okay. They don't all need to be
Right.
equally applauded for just being an idea, you know. And so, but unless we can be honest about it, I don't know that we'll ever get anywhere. So I hope we continue to sort of improve on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
bad
I
ideas are
think
part of the
that-
process.
Yeah,
It's true. It's
exactly.
true. But
And
I think, you know,
that's
let's
what
call
it
them what they
takes.
are, though.
Sure.
And that's what it takes to be a disruptor too, right?
Yeah. When
Improve.
you're a disruptor, you're obviously, when you advocate, you're going to be going against someone. There's a reason why there's a norm. And I mean, sometimes it's just like, oh, that's how we've always done it, even though maybe the conditions have changed, or the situation has changed. Maybe there's a reason to justify the change. Brad, what was that? You posted something about a gate yesterday. It was perfect. It was like, oh, you know, to make a change, you have to accept what we normally do. And it's like,
Well, yeah, and it was it's the, I guess, a fallacy that I've just learned about called Chesterton's fence. But you know, the idea that like fences don't just grow out of the ground, like they're put there for a reason usually, and that doesn't mean that it's a just reason. But rather than just run up and start pulling fences up, it's wise to consider why it was there in the first place, and then you can decide, is it a good idea to pull it up or not. And I think that's maybe there's some of that going on right now where people are coming along. I'm sure you guys have talked to vendors or people who are doing like these discovery calls, want to talk to sites, and they're like, I have this idea.
Yep.
And you're like, well, okay, you don't know why this exists. Like, I applaud that you're trying to solve a problem, but you're creating 3 more problems
Right.
by solving that
Yeah.
problem.
Exactly.
Or you're trying to bypass things that were there
Right.
for a reason.
Right.
And that's why I think, again, the transparency and honesty in these conversations is so important. Like, look, I've had a ton of terrible ideas. I would prefer someone tell me or like walk me through why I'm wrong, so I don't have to waste my time trying to make that idea happen, and
Say it
only
ahead
to
of time.
only to realize later, oh, that was stupid. I could have done something, you know, more productive in the meantime.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing that right now in this industry. We're seeing a shift of some of the companies that popped up during COVID. And those companies popped up during an industry of desperation. We were desperate to get the job done. We had to get the world back on track. And as a result, I think a lot of these companies developed maybe without the consideration of some of the safeguards we have for a reason. And now that the industry is kind of getting away from the emergency, we're going back to policy. All of a sudden, the stringent regulations that were kind of overlooked in some ways to try to get us through COVID, they're starting to get implemented again. And these poor companies who designed their infrastructure on something that was less stringent are now identifying, oh my gosh, it's going to cost me more than I thought to do this research, because there's actually regulations that I didn't plan for because they weren't in place during COVID. And I think that what we're seeing is the deflation. You're seeing a deflation as a result of no longer being desperate. And you're gonna see that any company that you saw who formed as a result of COVID during this level of desperation, who may not necessarily have the safeguards in place that everyone else does, they're either going to have to adjust their cost schedules to that of maybe like traditional sites or people who have the quality levels in place, or they're going to have to pivot. And I think maybe in 2023, you're going to see that readjustment of people who thought, oh, this is the future of research, maybe during an emergency, but there's no way it would last. So by this time next year, my guess is we're probably going to be maybe reassessing how we do our regulations, or maybe even look at ways to prevent companies from forming without the stringent policies that we've had in place for decades. Maybe we could try to figure out a way to put safeguards in to protect our investors who put money into something that may not necessarily last for a long time. It's a lot to consider, and someone said 2023 will be the year of the site. I a lot of people said that in December, and I think we're starting to see that the sites are shining. I don't know how you guys are feeling on your sites, but with 800 people enrolled on a trial, and with sites that are succeeding in many different ways. I just got my second financial monitoring visit to a site where they're doing a ton of business. There's a ton of money that they left on the table. And guess what? All they had to do was just recognize it, put the infrastructure in place to really enhance what they were doing. So I think we've got a really good long list of potentials over the next year. And I think that things are looking pretty positive, even amidst some kind of disappointing news that's happened over the past few weeks.
For sure.
So.
Well, lots to think about, and I'm really glad that we did this recording, got to hear everybody's stories, and definitely thank you, Dr. Fox, for hitting in on that, because I think it's 100% true. And I'm hoping that it's not just 2023. I hope it also rolls into 2024, that sites start to get a lot more focused. And well, here at SOS, we're definitely gonna do our best to make sure that that information keeps rolling forward, that momentum into February 2024 next year. Hopefully you guys are already registered and signed up for the conference. Yeah, again, Clinical Trials Day is May 20th. Please, recognize your employees, your staff at sites, because they are part of everything that the site is doing, right? They're the boots on the ground. And even those of you professionals that are also in the CRO and sponsor end, because again, it happens all together, not just one way or one direction or this direction. It's a whole as an industry. And so we're all here to focus on the patient and ensure that we bring good healthcare and opportunities and options to patients throughout the world. But all right, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, SOS members, followers, supporters. We hope to see you back again. And well, thank you so much.
We're
All right,
gonna
happy
leave the
National
link.
Trials Day.